Guys, I think we did something special here. Today I'm going to show you a 0 rare mono red budget deck. This deck has strong creatures, huge spells, and it just gets outrageous. I think you can have a win as early as turn 3. We definitely did turn 4 with over 18 damage in one of the turns dealt. I'm going to show you not only the creatures, but the spells and how they work together. Pump up your creatures and make them real strong. And we're going to swing in for some big hits and overwhelm the opponent. But let's go ahead and get into it, and we'll get some examples here for you. The deck itself has 12 creatures, 16 if you want to count the enchantment creatures, and that's where we're going to start. Kumano here is a Saga enchantment. This is going to be our best turn 1. It's going to deal 1 damage to the face on the first Saga. The second Saga is going to give a +1/+1 to whichever creature we cast next. I like to put that on the Phoenix Chick because that's additional in-air damage that's hard to interact with and hard to deal with. And then the third trigger of the Saga, it's actually going to flip, turn into a 2/2 creature. Usually by this point we've either won the game or it's not looking too bleak. But usually we're doing pretty good. Getting into our creatures, we have the Monastery Swiftspear, a 1-mana 1/2 with haste and prowess. Prowess is going to be the huge +1/+1 triggers for all of our burn spells and pump spells and card advantage, which we'll get into here shortly. Phoenix Chick is going to be our damage in the air. It's a 1-mana 1/1 flying with haste. It can't block, but it doesn't matter. We're going to attack all the time anyways. And it does have the benefit of if it dies, and later on in the game if we attack with 3 or more creatures, we can pay 2 red, get it back onto the battlefield with flying and haste, and an additional +1/+1 counter. It's a huge momentum swing as far as the opponent thinking that they've dealt with them. They actually have to exile them from the graveyard if they don't want to deal with that in the future. And the big boy that we're dealing with here, Electrostatic Infantry. I like this creature so much. I like the fact that his benefits isn't just prowess, it's consistent 1/1 counters. But getting into him, he's a 2-mana creature, 1 generic, 1 red, with trample, 1 power, 2 toughness. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 counter on him. This is huge because all of our burn spells, instead of having a temporary buff, we're actually going to have him buffed throughout the game. And that adds more value to the Monastery Swiftspear because the infantry is going to be targeted first before everybody else. And a Swiftspear by itself can run the game. So imagine having 2 of them and 1 of them has trample effectively. So this is going to be huge for us. One common playline that I like to make is the Kumano on 1 and a Swiftspear or Phoenix Chick on 2 so that they can get the additional +1/+1 counter. And the reason why I also like to do that is the infantry is only affected by instants and sorcery speeds. So the enchantment doesn't actually buff him, so we can actually save some time and tempo and put our damage elsewhere. Getting into the burn spells, we have 12 different burn spells. 12 different burn spells. We have In the Festivities, deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature the Planeswalker controls. This is good for small token decks, as well as just dealing a little bit of chip damage here and there. Fire is 2 damage to any target. Its best use is to clear the board state for us so that we can swing in on the ground with the Monastery Swiftspear. If we do deal damage to face, we actually get to scry 1 as well, which can lead to some additional card advantage. A little bit of card filtering, make sure that we have the right cards that we want. And then Lightning Strike. Classic, 2-mana instant speed, deal 3 damage to any targets. This is going to be used for our bigger creatures that the opponent has, or if we need to just deal damage to face. There's multiple times where I have, 2 to 3 of these lightning strikes in hand, and opponents at 6 or 9 damage, and we don't even have to worry about the game. We just have to block on the ground, attack or deal damage to face, and you win. Now we have 2 different pump spells for our creatures. The first one is Antagonize. Big beefy pump, 2 mana instant speed. Target creature gets +4/+3 until end of turn. No matter what creature you put this on, this is huge. If you put it on the Swift Spear, you're doing 6 damage because of the prowess trigger. Phyrexia is going to do 5 damage total. The infantry is going to do 6 damage total because of his ability, his +1/+1 counters. And then he has trample also. So even if they chump block with the little guy, you put this on the infantry, you're dealing a huge amount of damage even through blockers. The secondary pump spell is going to be our Blazing Crescendo. It's not only a pump spell, but it's also card advantage for us also. It's a 2 mana instant speed. Target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn. Exile the top card of your library. You may play it till your next turn. So this is going to give us that extra card, whether we need it for burn, land drop, an additional pump spell, whatever it may be. We're going to make our creature beefy, big beefy, and then get card on top of that. I don't know what's better than that. There can't be. Our second way to get card advantage is going to be Reckless Impulse. It is sorcery speed, so we have to play this at the right time. But it says exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Typically, if you're needing a land drop, I like to play this card first. It exiles the 2 cards. If one of those are a land, awesome. We play it out land for turn. And then we have an additional mana that we can use, whether it's for a play with the fire in the festivities, or a haste creature like Monastery Swift Spear, or the Phoenix Chick. The big key to this is that it triggers everything. It triggers prowess, and it triggers the infantry. And it can get a little crazy. We can draw almost as many red cards as a blue player would with the Reckless Impulse and the Crescendo. And then if we pair that with our next card, it just doubles. And our next card, we do have I call it a fun of. It can be swapped out for, say, a Squee if you have the rares available. But I like Twinferno. It's Twinferno. 2 mana, instant speed, choose 1. First option, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Big thing here is it doesn't recast. So if this spell resolves and you cast a lightning strike and the opponent counters the lightning strike, the copy still resolves. So you're not worried about anything there. You're still getting your value. It's either used to copy a big pump spell, whether it's the Crescendo or Antagonize. And effectively, we give the creature +8 or +6, plus the additional triggers from prowess and the infantry static +1/+1s. It makes them huge. The other option that you can do is pump a creature, get them real big, use Twinferno, and use the second option, which is target creature gains double strike until end of turn. If you put a Antagonize on an infantry, then give him double strike, that's a minimum of 12 damage with no blocks. And that's, 6 total mana, give or take? And that's not counting if the infantry has any additional counters prior. And all these pumps and combat effects, they're all done at instant speed. We only have the 2 spells that are sorcery speed, the Reckless Impulse and the In the Festivities. But those you're going to be casting pre-combat either way because you want to grab your combat tricks. Now this deck is amazing. the fact that it has 0 rares, all uncommons and commons. We're looking at 20 lands total, so we don't flood out too often. We have card advantage. We have very strong creatures. We have combat tricks. We have burn. We have it all. The only thing that we don't have would be targeted sacrifice spells for bigger creatures, such as Shieldred, which tends to be our downfall. Shieldred is really hard to get through because they do have the 5 toughness, which is going to be 2 burn spells or the loss of a big creature, one of the two. But there's things that we have to deal with at the end of the day. If you manage the gameplay, you manage the board state, you keep your creatures alive and in abundance, you shouldn't have any issues. Mono black is the toughest matchup between the two. Rakdos is right there as well, and it's just because they have so many kill spells. If you're worried about playing control, all you have to do is flood the board, just get out as much damage as you can. If they board wipe, you probably lost already, but keep playing the game because you have so much card advantage with the Reckless Impulse and the Blazing Crescendo that you can get back into it. You never know. You can draw into 2 creatures. You can draw into 2 creatures, a burn spell, copy with Twinferno. You get everything. But I do want you guys to get out there and give this deck a try. I will put this video as a card in each one of my rank series that I play budget decks only. At the time of recording this, this is April split. I've already moved up from Bronze 3 to Silver 1, and we only played it for 2 days. I believe we played 8 or 9 games and only lost 1. Off stream, I played it on my main account, played some standard events. I went 7-2, 7-1, and then 3-3 for those standard events that I played. So it has some huge potential. You play it right, you have good keeps, and you shouldn't have any issues at the end of the day. Go ahead and give it a shot. Try your best to just burn damage to the face, get in damage where you can, and don't miss lethal. I'll see you guys next time.